With an already talented, riddled AFC conference, the AFC North is a division that could be a lot better in 2023, with the Bengals coming off an AFC title appearance, the Ravens bringing back Lamar Jackson with some new pieces during the offseason, the Browns looking to get Deshaun Watson back to his old playing self, and the Steelers being a massive underdog with Kenny Pickett coming into his second year. So, let's talk about it. Now, the city of Pittsburgh has taken some blows as Steelers fans, as the Pittsburgh Steelers have only made the playoffs twice in the last 5 seasons, and in those stints, they were both one and done in the wildcard rounds, as well as an all-time great Ben Roethlisberger retiring after the 2021 season. But with Mike Tomlin still being the head coach for that squad, they're always going to be in the hunt for a playoff spot, which is why they're hoping to get that success from Kenny Pickett coming into his second season as a starter. Kenny Pickett last season looked very promising after having a rocky start to his career, waiting until week 3 to be put in to start, to then have a 2-5 record in his first 7 games. But then was on fire the last 5 games he started, as he was 5-0, throwing for 4 touchdowns and only 1 interception, being very conservative while showing potential to be a big-time quarterback for the Steel City. Though overall the Steelers offense last year was very young and playing together for the first time. That's why they struggled a lot at first, to then rattle off a bunch of wins because they were able to build that confidence and team camaraderie to trust in one another, which means that with a whole offseason being together and being able to work together, they could be even better this upcoming season. Offensively, there's only room for improvement for these guys, as Deontay Johnson and rookie George Pickens both had over 800 receiving yards last season, with Pickens catching 4 touchdowns. Pickens, while being young, looked like a veteran out there, making some ridiculous catches and highlights like burying other poor defensive backs into the ground. Seeing what he can do is really exciting for him and Pickett going forward. Alongside them up front next to the line is tight end Pat Freiermuth, who had a huge jump in numbers from his rookie season in 21, having 63 catches for 732 yards, averaging 11 yards per catch, and having 2 touchdowns, which may seem like a drop off from his 7 the previous season, but he's still a massive threat in the red zone. Another gem on the offense is running back Najee Harris. After a Pro Bowl nod last season, Harris took a little bit of a drop-off workload-wise while still producing numbers, with him having 68 less touches with the ball and still having 1,000 yards rushing and 10 total touchdowns from scrimmage, being the workhorse for that offense, still producing mass numbers. Defensively is where they gain big-time pieces on all 3 levels, including them adding cornerback Patrick Peterson from Minnesota, who's resurrected his career there, having 5 picks as well as having a career high in total tackles last season. At the linebacker spot, they lost a couple players who didn't play to the potential they had coming into 2022, including outside linebacker Malik Reed and Robert Spillane signing to other AFC teams, as well as their first-round selection from 2019, Devin Bush Jr., signing with my Seattle Seahawks. Bush, who had a breakout rookie season, then tore his ACL in 2020 against the Cleveland Browns, and since then hasn't produced those same numbers. But the Steelers got some replacements, including signing a Landon Roberts from Miami and Cole Holcomb from Washington to fill those linebacker spots. Up front, they recently re-signed linebacker Alex Highsmith, who last year came out of nowhere with a massive 14.5 sack season, just wreaking havoc against any offensive line, along with the fact that they still have an already great D-line with veterans Cameron Hayward and defensive end TJ White coming back from injury. Now, the Cleveland Browns this season are kind of in the same situation that the Steelers are in, as last year they were sort of going through a feeling out process for Deshaun Watson and the offense to blend in with each other, with the fact that Deshaun, after his legal problems that delayed him a whole 2 years of playing, was only able to play the last 6 games of the year. And for a guy who hasn't stepped into a game since the 2020 season, he obviously was rusty, as he threw 5 interceptions in those 6 starts, but he also showed that he can still start for a team, as he threw 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns, at times making huge deep ball plays like he usually would, as well as making some plays on his feet, as he got 2 touchdowns on the ground. Hopefully now, with a full offseason where he can actually focus on football and not on lawsuits, he can perform on the same level when he initially entered the league. The offense coming into this year was ranked the 6th best rushing attack for not only having one of the top offensive lines in the NFL, but also having running back Nick Chubb leading the charge, having 1,500 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns, having the speed to outrun a lot of DBs, but strong enough to shrug any tackle. Though when it came to the other offensive skill positions, there's only a few names that had some shine. Firstly, naming Amari Cooper, who's been a top guy for them since trading for him from Dallas. Last year, Cooper had 1,160 yards and 9 touchdowns. The Browns also had Donovan Peoples-Jones, who had 839 receiving yards, and tight end David Njoku, who had 628. Hopefully those numbers improve coming from the passes of a primed Deshaun Watson. Defensively, the top 20 defense needed some help on the D-line to assist Myles Garrett as he carries that side of the ball every year, it seems like. This last season, he had 16 sacks and 18 tackles for loss, being a monster for the line. The Browns did bring in defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson this offseason, who also brings in some run-stuffing ability. Then, with an already decent defensive back room, Cleveland added Juan Thornhill from the Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. Last year, he became more of a physical safety as he had career highs in tackling stats, as well as getting to the quarterback. As well as the fact that he had 3 picks, he's going to fit hopefully well with Denzel Ward and Grant Delpit back there as well. This offseason, the 2 main pieces everyone was waiting for was Aaron Rodgers and then Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens. As the Ravens and Lamar seem to have major contract disputes about long-term yearly salaries for the quarterback, as many fans, other players, and Lamar himself thought that he'd be one of the highest paid, if not the highest, based on his play on the field being the offense for Baltimore ever since his MVP run in 2019. Especially this last season, as he led the team in both passing yards with 2,242 yards, but also rushing yards with 764 on the ground, while not starting the whole season. So when I see people still bad-mouthing Lamar like he's a bad quarterback, it's funny because he is such a good quarterback that needed weapons, and thank God the Ravens granted both wishes for LJ. Not only did he get signed to become the highest paid player at the time with a 5-year, $260 million contract, but also the Ravens got 2 big receivers to help that depleted wide receiver room for Baltimore. Wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. coming back to play since Super Bowl 56, where he tore his ACL after an all-time performance for him, having nearly 300 yards and 2 touchdowns during those playoffs. During that regular season, he started to play more like the Odell Beckham Jr. we know and love, the explosive playmaker who made ridiculous catches and plays, as in 7 games he had 27 catches for 305 yards and 5 touchdowns. Soon after that signing, the Browns also drafted Zay Flowers out of Boston College, where in his senior year he had a massive year of production, having career highs with 78 catches for over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns, being a potential great young prospect for OBJ to mentor for the league, along with them still having a top 3 tight end with Mark Andrews, leading the team last year with 847 yards and 5 touchdowns. They're gonna have even more firepower added for Lamar and that offense, led by new offensive coordinator Todd Monken, to help bring in new play calls instead of just running every single play like they did last year. The defense had the firepower though for Baltimore last year, as the number 3 ranked defense just seemed to lose that firepower on the D-line, with them losing not only Calais Campbell to Atlanta, as well as Justin Houston, who declared free agency, and they were both top 3 on that defense in sacks. The Ravens linebacker room is still one of the best in the league, with the combo of young Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith, who recently signed a 5-year, $100 million deal over this last season to stay in Baltimore, along with their good defensive back room too, with 2022 Pro Bowler Marlon Humphrey leading that cornerback room, as well as safety Marcus Williams, who last season led the Ravens with 4 interceptions. But they might need some help in the secondary, as Marcus Peters just signed to Las Vegas on a 1-year contract. Now moving on to the AFC North champs from last year, as last season they were so very close to making a Super Bowl appearance instead of the Chiefs. But after a devastating sack at the end of the game by Chris Jones, the Chiefs would then march down the field and set up a game-winning field goal after an unnecessary roughness by the defense. So after a loss like that, Cincy definitely needed to regroup and re-sign their key pieces, as you still have younger pieces still on their rookie deals like Joe Burrow. And you know as well as I do that all three of those contracts, like Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, are going to be massive contracts for the team and their position groups. And they all deserve it, as each player has contributed to the offense, whether that's throwing the ball with precision or catching long big time passes with explosion, or even being a vocal leader for that squad. Now, the Bengals did lose some players on both sides of the ball this offseason, but for the offense, they desperately needed to upgrade their offensive line to pair up with La'el Collins, especially after the fact that offensive line was ranked 6th worst last year, as they allowed 41 sacks total. And they did definitely upgrade by signing one of the best left tackles in the game in Orlando Brown Jr., coming in from a Super Bowl season with the Kansas City Chiefs. During his time in Kansas City and Baltimore, the 4-time Pro Bowler was that anchor at the left tackle spot who protected both Patty Mahomes and Lamar Jackson's blind side while being there. Though we won't be able to see that initially happen at the start of the season, since recently news, Joey Burrow did injure his calf in the middle of practice, so he is reportedly going to be out several weeks and could miss the start of the regular season. But defensively, Cincinnati also lost safety Jesse Bates as he went to go to Atlanta on a 4-year, $64 million contract, and Von Bell heading over to New Orleans after both having career years coming into their contract seasons, leading the team with 4 interceptions each. Losing that kind of security blanket for the secondary is going to be rough for the defense trying to cover those deep ball passes to OBJ or even Amari Cooper. And it'll definitely show this season, which is why I don't think the defense is nearly going to be as good as their top 10 defense was last season. With that, let's go ahead and rank this division, as each team has a chance to not only win the division, but also could move on to compete against teams like Kansas City again. Starting with 4th place, we're going to say the Pittsburgh Steelers. With Kenny Pickett coming into his 2nd season and being surrounded by a young team, they'll have some success with Pickett and crew. But with the Browns starting to emerge with Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson and Joey Burrow already dominating the North, I'm going to say the Browns and Steelers are most likely going to be switching this year. So I'm taking the Steelers as 4th place in the North this year, and maybe have 7 wins and maybe have a potential down year as well. Moving on to 3rd place, I'm going to say the Cleveland Browns and the Dog Pound, as obviously I want every team to have some sort of success, and especially that goes for the Browns and the potential that they have. But with the fresh Deshaun and coming back to play a whole season this year, and with them still having a good offensive line, a good running back room, great targets, and a decent defense, they're going to probably have about 9 wins, maybe more. Then pouncing into 2nd place, I'm going to be taking the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, after almost having a potential Super Bowl appearance last season, I think the Bengals are going to take a drop in success only a little bit, with them losing their 2 best defensive players on the team last season, other than Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson. And even though Joe Burrow potentially is going to be out of the first couple of weeks of the season, I feel like they'll recover enough to do well, as they did start 2-3 last season and made it to the AFC Championship. But with a high-powered offense like Cincinnati, they're going to stay in contention regardless, and I'm going to say that they're going to have about 10 to 11 wins this season. Which then leaves us with the Baltimore Ravens to win the AFC North this year, as I think Lamar Jackson is primed for an MVP type season with all the drama that happened to his contract situation with the Ravens this offseason. Many people were still questioning his play and if he even deserved the money when he signed that deal. And with that, and the fact that the offense is changing for the better for the Ravens, bringing in Odell Beckham Jr. and offensive coordinator Todd Monken, Lamar is going to be on a mission to destroy the league, similar to what he did when he unanimously won the 2019 MVP, and I think they're going to have about 11 to 12 wins. Alright, and that's going to wrap up and conclude our NFL preview video for this week. Thank you for clicking on the AFC North. If you enjoyed, please hit the like, subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what you guys think on the video as usual. If you think Lamar is going to win the MVP or not, or even if you think the Steelers are going to win, let me know. Also, keep an eye out for my next video coming up, hopefully in the next couple of days, where I am talking about the NFC West and how I think that division is going to be wrapping up itself this upcoming season. Other than that, thank you again for clicking on today's video, and have a good one.